Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven, and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some pro-revenge stories, and our first story of the day is by TTROSC. Bakery had my mom's car towed, so I got the business closed down. This happened about 8 years ago, 2013, and when I tell people this story, I get mixed reactions, so I figure why not tell Reddit? My mom and I decided to go out to lunch one day. We drove until we found a lot that's business did not appear to be open at the time. My mom pulls into the lot and parks on a spot. We both walk over and investigate the business's window. It was a pastry shop for purposes later in the story. The lights are not on, the door is locked, and there's a sign that says closed right behind the door. We conclude they are closed and went to eat our lunch. We finish eating about a little over an hour later and come back to find our car was missing, but now the bakery was open. My mom and I walk inside of the bakery and ask if they had seen our car. The owner, with a very stern tone and attitude, said, "Yeah, I had it towed because it was taking up spots for potential customers. You should have come inside to ask me first." My mom responds that we did attempt to see if she was open and even buy something to see if we could park there for an hour or so. She calls us liars and said she had been open all day and we never attempted to ask. My mom just basically said we tried and that it was wrong for her to tow us with so many other spots still available. The owner said something back to my mom that really upset her and made her cry. All while this was going on, I was taking mental notes that this bakery/pastry shop was having ventilation/insulation work being done. The installation worker, who I can only assume was a random contractor and not a specialist, was doing the work right over the prep table for the food, all while smoking a cigarette. As I go to console my mom, I turn around and tell the lady her sign still says closed like when we originally came to the door. She storms up to me, picks up the sign, and slams around to open. "We are open now." I calmed my mom down and we eventually got the car back from the tow company and got home. Once we got home, I was angry that lady made my mom cry, so I wanted revenge. I called the health department for the city. I say exactly what I wrote above to the guy on the phone, who puts me on hold and tells me to repeat everything I said word for word to his director. I tell the director the story, nothing about the car being towed obviously. I was a concerned citizen. She verifies the address and location with me 3 separate times. Yes, the name was X. Yes, it was across the street from this restaurant on this street. She then tells me that she shut down that business the week prior for plumbing issues, insulation, and multiple other infractions. She was told she could not be open and operate a business until the plumbing issue was fixed and approved, and told me she would handle it. Later that night on the news, that business was being shut down for good for all the infractions. And I could see my mom look so confused and happy at the same time, like karma worked for her that quickly. Told my mom years later, and she loved it. Let me ask you guys, ignoring the whole insulation and plumbing issues, do you feel the business owner had the right to get that car towed in the parking spot? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Our next story is by Minotaur2. Can't pay for gasoline? Pay $1,000 for repairs instead. This happened in the 90s right after I had moved out of my dad's house after college. I was broke and in search of a job. My brother, who owns a local mechanic shop, helped me find a job and a place to live in that area. The place I lived was in a cramped trailer park, but I did have a small patch of grass that needed mowing. Also, the place had poor heating and cooling. I had to install my own window unit and use a kerosene heater for heat. Not a good idea, by the way, but it's what was available and it was indoor rated, surprisingly. My neighbors, we'll call Josh and Anna again, are the type that have a nice, expensive car, despite not being able to afford power, food, etc. But who am I to judge? The car? A Ford Thunderbird Super Coupe. Round 1. It's getting springtime and my weeds are starting to grow. So I get a small power mower, a gas jug, and some gas. I mow my yard in about 5 minutes. Done. Next week I come out and my gas jug is empty. Well, crap. Round 2. It's week 2 of mowing season, and I go get some gas. This time I get less, and before I put the jug up, I place a small handwritten note on it. "Attention gas thief, contains water." No, it didn't really, but I was testing a theory. And yep, they stole the gas anyway. At this point, I still wasn't sure if it was actually them or not, but I was about to find out. Round 3, mortality. It's now 4 weeks into mowing season. At this point, it's warmed up. My new shiny 220-volt AC unit is humming in the living room, and I no longer need my kerosene. I take my gas jug and kerosene jug, get some gas/kero, mow my yard, put my gas jug just inside my door, and leave my very full bright blue kerosene jug next to my mower. He took it. The fallout? Anyone who works on cars knows that a gasoline-powered engine will not run on kerosene. So yeah, he didn't make it much farther than the top of the hill. The best part is that the warranty didn't cover the damage done by using the wrong fuel, and to fix it, the tank had to be drained, the lines had to be drained, the filter changed, and new fuel injectors installed. Josh ended up paying my brother over $1,000 to fix his car. I think my favorite part was walking by Josh later with my empty kerosene jug, mumbling about why would someone steal my kerosene in warm weather. He never admitted he did it. He never stole my gas or kerosene again. Finally, he learned, or found a new victim. I've heard a similar story like this before, but I don't think you ever get tired of hearing these kinds of things go exactly to plan. If somebody's gonna be that person and try to steal your gas, well, then they can be that person too and steal my water and/or kerosene. Wouldn't be my fault you stole it from me and used it on your car. And not only that, but OP's brother got $1,000 out of it too. This next story's by Ceramic Seminar. Neighbors were consistently loud, so I got a bit louder at the wrong time of the year. Throughout the year, I had noisy and thoughtless neighbors. They would often have loud parties that would go to the early hours of the morning. They were all in university and of Indian descent. This becomes important later on. I had called the police, called the apartment manager. Nobody would do anything about it. I was losing sleep, and my work was becoming affected as well. I had spoken to them directly, and they completely disregarded me and refused to just shut the freak up. This went on for months, and I was writing out my lease to move somewhere else. One day, I'm sitting watching TV on a nice spring day, and I have my windows wide open, and I hear one of the neighbor's friends come over, and he asks if he's coming out, and he says no, he needs to study for an important test he's taking the next day. This little snippet of information was all I needed. His friend leaves and he closes the door. I then proceeded to take my speakers and put them up against the walls near where I knew his desk was. There were balconies outside, so I often saw him studying here. And I began to blare Merzbow and death metal straight at the wall. I put on my noise-canceling headphones and just blasted it as loud as possible for hours. My landlord actually ended up coming into the apartment because I didn't hear him knocking. And he's obviously flipping out, but I'm like, meh, you never did crap when I complained, so good luck. Call the cops. My lease was set to be up soon anyway, and I was leaving the state, so freak y'all. So landlord leaves, and I'm still amped up on adrenaline, and it's quiet for maybe 20 minutes. And I just intermittently start blasting music. The neighbor comes over irate, screaming that he has this big test and he's got to pass it, apparently a medical student. And I just laughed in his face and said, I don't hear anything. He then makes a fantastic mistake, which was telling me he didn't just have a final tomorrow, but it was finals week. Oh great! Added stress for the week equals the fact that I continue doing this every night for the rest of the week. I set my alarm to go off every 30 minutes, and I would bang on the walls with a hammer and blast music, and I was going a bit crazy as well, but that didn't matter because I was freaking up this guy's life. Around day 3 of no sleep for anyone, he comes over screaming about how in India, his family will disown him and all this nonsense. Which just made me laugh and just said the same thing over and over, that I didn't hear the music and that I think it was coming from somewhere else. I basically just started gaslighting him, acting really nice when he came over in a rage. That week, the landlord gave some BS notice that I had to leave, which I was fine with, because he broke my lease and I wanted to get out anyway, so I got my deposit back. On the last morning I was there, I was moving out, and I knocked on the jerk neighbor's door at like 8 a.m. and asked him if he wanted this old air conditioner I was going to throw out otherwise. He was totally in a daze, and I don't know if he really understood what was happening any longer. Anyway, hopefully I freaked up his life and his future a bit. Should have shut the freak up when I told him numerous times. If you guys are wondering why the landlord did some special treatment here, it's because Mersbo is the equivalent of really loud and obnoxious dial-up tones. Seriously, look up Mersbo if you really want to know what was going down here. It's just like various forms of absolutely jarring staticky sounds. And our final story of the day is by It's Sasha. I gave my cat the ultimate hiss. So let me preface this by saying that my cat is fine, was not harmed, and is sitting purring next to me as I speak. On to the story. My cat is a bit naughty. To be fair, it goes both ways. She'll scratch my chair to get my attention, then run away, meow loudly when I'm concentrating on something to startle me, jump on me when I'm sleeping, and such things. In return, I tickle her nose with a bird feather when she sleeps, pretend I'm going to pick her up, which she hates, and twig her tail when she's not seen me yet, giving her a little start. To say that we're jerks to each other is a fair point, but we love each other all the same. This is normally totally harmless, but a couple of weeks back, she started threatening to chew the wires on my phone charger when it's sitting by my bed at night. This scares the heck out of me for two reasons. One, my phone charger runs at 5 volts or 2.4 amps. If you know anything about electricity, you know that while this is a heavy, painful jolt for a human, it's deadly for something the size of a cat. 2, a cat sitting on a bedside table is in no way grounded. At first, I started telling her off, but she just ignored me and kept going. I started to blow into her face. It's a dominance thing for a cat and a good way to dissuade them from doing something, and that worked for about a week. After that, she just gave me a dirty look and tried to chew them again until I buried them under paper. When she started to knock the paper off the table to get to them, I knew it was serious. I devised a plan. I went down to the local office store and got some supplies. That night, I waited with the cord in my phone, charging with no paper over the phone. She jumps up on the table, makes sure I'm watching her, and then starts to chew the cable. I told her off, which she ignored, and then I enacted my plan. I took a breath like I was going to blow into her face, at which point she shot me a dirty look. That's when I slowly pulled the can of compressed air out from under the sheets and gave her a short blast straight into her face. The effect was instantaneous and spectacular. The cat launched herself up 2 feet and back 6 feet off the bedside table. She landed safely on the ground in the bedroom. She checked fur, and seeing nothing there, looked at me in what I can only describe as abject horror. Eyes wide, mouth dropped open, every bit of fur sticking out. She stood like that for a few seconds before shaking herself out of it and tearing off into the lounge room. I went out and made a cup of tea and sat near the sofa she was under after putting some tuna and a saucer of milk down. It didn't take her long to come out looking for sympathy cuddles. It's been a week now. I think she's figured the cords are off limits. Fingers crossed. I myself don't really know about the best practices in disciplining a cat. I just hope that they learn from that experience and know that the wires are off limits, because I don't think anybody wants that cat to get through those wires and find out what would happen. Also though, I do know that most cats are lactose intolerant and you shouldn't give them milk. So hopefully the poor cat's tummy was feeling alright after the treat. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.